You say you have faith. You say you trust God. You say you believe in purpose. But in practice, you're still trying to control everything. And that's exactly where the weight begins. True spirituality isn't found in what you say. It's revealed in what you're willing to release. Because while one part of you is trying to follow God's will, another part insists on holding on to control, pride, and your own plans. That creates a quiet internal conflict, a kind of emotional tension that drains your strength every day. The anxiety you feel often doesn't come from the cross. It comes from resistance. The exhaustion you carry isn't just from your purpose. It's from trying to live in two directions at once. In Matthew 16:24, Jesus Christ left no room for comfortable interpretation. Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. Denying yourself isn't symbolic. It's practical. It means letting go of what you want right now in order to live what God has prepared for you. It means saying no to immediate desires, easy shortcuts, and decisions that look good but aren't aligned with your calling. Here's the hard truth. You can't carry the cross and your ego at the same time. Many people in Christian motivation want to live out God's promises without going through the process of surrender. They want blessing without humility, purpose without yielding. That doesn't exist. The cross becomes unbearable when you add unnecessary weight, misplaced expectations, excessive control, fear of losing what God has already asked you to release. And if you're honest with yourself right now, you may realize it's not that God is asking too much, it's that you haven't surrendered everything yet. Until that surrender is complete, it will keep feeling too heavy, too hard, too unfair. So here's the question that changes everything. What are you still holding on to that God has already asked you to let go of? One of the biggest traps in spirituality is silent comparison. You look at others and think, why does it seem easier for them? Why does their life flow while mine feels stuck? Why does their cross seem lighter than mine? Without realizing it, you begin measuring your purpose against someone else's life. That's a serious spiritual mistake. In Galatians 6:4-5, it says, each one should test their own actions, for each will carry their own load. God never asked you to carry someone else's cross or to compare yours to theirs. The problem is you only see the surface. You see results, good moments, achievements, but not the process, the sacrifices, or the internal battles they faced. In faith, every calling is specific. Every purpose is unique. Every cross is custom designed. What feels light for someone else might be overwhelming for you. What God is building in you requires a different kind of pressure. But when you compare, you lose spiritual clarity. You start questioning God, doubting your path, feeling like something is wrong when in reality, everything may be exactly as it should be. Comparison doesn't strengthen faith. It weakens purpose. And here's the most dangerous part. When you start desiring someone else's life, you begin rejecting God's plan for your own. That leads to frustration, stagnation, and even more emotional weight. Because there is no peace outside your calling. Maybe you're tired today not because your cross is too heavy, but because you're looking at the wrong one. Be honest with yourself. What if the thing you envy in others is exactly the burden you wouldn't be able to carry? There's something that completely changes how you see your life. Purpose. Without purpose, pain feels pointless. Without purpose, difficulty feels unfair. Without purpose, the cross becomes meaningless suffering. But when you understand purpose, everything shifts. In Romans 8:28, it says, all things work together for good for those who love God. That doesn't mean everything is good. It means everything is being used. In Christian spirituality, nothing is wasted, no tear, no struggle, no hard moment. God uses all of it to shape you. The challenge is that you're often in the process without seeing the outcome. That creates frustration. You start asking, why is this happening to me? What's the point of all this? But the better question isn't why. It's for what purpose? Because the cross was never about destruction. It has always been about transformation. God is forming something in you that couldn't exist without pressure, Character, faith, resilience, spiritual maturity. Here's the deeper truth. What you're trying to avoid may be exactly what's preparing you. Until you understand that, everything feels heavier. Because suffering without purpose drains you. But suffering with purpose strengthens you. Maybe you're in the middle of a process that doesn't make sense yet, but will one day become the foundation of everything God does in your life. So consider this seriously. What if God is already using this difficult season, and you just haven't recognized it yet? There's a truth many people resist. Pain is part of the journey, but prolonged suffering is often resistance. You don't suffer only because of what's happening. You suffer because you're fighting it. That resistance creates emotional, spiritual, and mental strain far greater than the situation itself. The Apostle Paul understood this deeply. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, he says, "My power is made perfect in weakness." In other words, when you stop resisting, God's work becomes clearer. But what do? You question, complain, try to escape, try to rush the process. That only adds weight. The cross doesn't get lighter when you run from it. It gets heavier. Because you're carrying not just the process, but also the frustration of refusing to accept it. In spirituality, acceptance isn't giving up. It's alignment. It's trusting that God knows what He's doing, even when you don't understand. When you stop fighting the process and start trusting, something shifts within you. The situation may not change, but the way you carry it does. True faith doesn't remove the cross. It strengthens you to carry it. So here's the final question in this part. What if the problem was never the size of your cross, but how you've been responding to it? 1. Decide daily to die to yourself. Putting God first isn't an emotional moment. It's a daily decision. It means waking up and aligning your heart before anything else. In Luke 9:23, Jesus says, "Take up your cross daily." Faith isn't automatic, it's chosen. Every day you'll face the decision to follow God's will or your own impulses. And most of the time, choosing God won't feel comfortable. But that repeated choice strengthens your faith, matures your spirituality, and reduces the weight of the cross because you stop carrying unnecessary inner conflict. Ask yourself, what do you need to deny in yourself today to honor God? Build real intimacy with God, not just religious habits. Many people talk about God but don't walk with Him. That changes everything. The cross feels heavier when you feel alone. But real faith isn't the absence of pain. It's the presence of God within it. In Jeremiah 29:13, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." Intimacy isn't built only in desperate moments. It's built through consistency. Prayer, scripture, silence, reflection. It's a relationship. When you truly know God, you trust more. And when you trust more, you resist less. And the less you resist, the lighter the cross becomes. Accept your calling without comparing yourself to others. Part of the weight you feel doesn't come from the cross, it comes from comparison. God didn't call you to live someone else's life. He called you to fulfill a specific purpose. In Ephesians 2:10, we are God's workmanship, created to do good works, which God prepared in advance. There is something prepared specifically for you. When you accept that, you stop fighting your reality and start growing within it. That's when the cross stops feeling like a confusing burden and starts becoming a clear path. Maybe for a long time you believed your cross meant something was wrong, that God was distant, that life was unfair. But what if it has always been a sign that God is working more deeply in your life? The cross was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to transform you. Every difficult moment, every sacrifice, every faith-driven decision, it's all shaping someone stronger, steadier, more aligned with eternal purpose. The issue was never the weight itself. It was trying to carry it alone. Because when you put God first, something invisible happens. The cross is still there. But it doesn't feel the same. Not because it got easier, but because you became stronger. God's presence changes perspective. What once felt unbearable begins to make sense. What once felt like unexplained pain starts to reveal purpose. And then you understand something that changes everything. God never asked you to understand everything. He asked you to trust Him. Trust isn't feeling secure all the time. It's continuing forward even when you don't have all the answers. Your cross is not a mistake. It's direction. It's leading you exactly where you need to go. Maybe today you can't see the full picture, but one day you will look back and realize every difficult step was necessary. Every tear had value. Every sacrifice had purpose. And in that moment, it will all make sense. If this message resonated with you, don't let it pass like just another thing you heard today. Something is happening within you right now, maybe discomfort, maybe clarity, maybe conviction. That's not random. Faith begins with small decisions. One of them is choosing to take a stand. Write this in the comments. I accept my purpose. Not for me. Say it as a declaration, a defining moment, a decision to stop running and start walking with God for real. And share this too. What has been the hardest part of your cross lately? When you put it into words, you begin to face it, and that's already part of the transformation. If this helped you, do something simple that makes a difference. Subscribe, like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. You never know who is carrying a cross in silence. That small action might reach them. Your journey with God doesn't have to be lonely. And it can start with a decision today.